Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the updates groundbreaking dev server, and it's time to have a look at the VCC-80 This is a new light vehicle that is coming to the Italian tree for updates groundbreaking, and to be honest with you, it looks really cool. It's very similar to the Dardo. The main difference is the turret is obviously slightly different, and also the gun itself. This thing has access to a 30mm Bushmaster 2 Mark 44, and the Dardo has access to the 25mm Oerlikon KBA-B02. So with the 30mm, you're talking about a slightly larger round, which should have different properties. Pretty much everything else is very similar to the Dardo that we already have in game. The chassis is exactly the same. When it comes to its general layout, it's exactly the same. I'll just show you a comparison between the two vehicles. So this is the standard Dardo, you know, with its true rotation, vertical guidance, all of that stuff, and armor. Then this is the VCC-80. So you can see the hull itself is very similar compared to it. Looks like actually the hull is slightly higher on the VCC-80. I don't know whether that is just a perception thing or if it's just a little bit lower here. So it'll be slightly higher, and also the turret will be slightly different. So the armor values are pretty much the same. So the armor is not going to really be the strong point of the Dardo. Only has, you know, 50mm on the front and not a lot on the sides of the front of the turret. Then also you have some 25mm and 40 on the side of the turret, with some on the back as well. So the armor profile isn't the best. The main thing that actually gives the Dardo its strength is the fact that you can shoot into the chassis and just not kill the vehicle at all. Like, you've got the driver here, you've got the engine with the 520 horsepower, the transmission, and then you have two sets of armor here. So what ends up happening is if you shoot the hull, generally the round will actually get stuck halfway through and not make it to the turret. So a lot of the times while I've been playing against stuff like the Dardo, I'll shoot the hull and then the round just doesn't go through properly, and then he just guns me down with the turret. So that is something that happens quite a lot with the vehicle itself. The other thing is it has a 3-man crew, so 2 in the turret, 1 as the driver in the bottom. It obviously has the back pretty open because it can fit some crew or fit some troops in there. The 80 gems are sat on the sides, and then you obviously have the 2 80 gem launchers here and the gun in the center, which is 2-plane stabilized and also has this wonderful ammo belt on the side, and then has the backup 7.62mm Beretta for the commander. The commander does have dual fire controls, so the commander can fire the main armaments, the tows, and also the cannon if the gunner gets taken out. So you've got to watch out for that when fighting these things as well. The general speed of this thing is pretty good, you know, 70 kilometers an hour. It can move around the place. It's highly mobile for a vehicle like this. And looking at its general stats, the main differences between it and the Dardo is that the VCC gets access to different rounds because it's a different gun, but that's really about it. The VCC gets the LWSLR, so the laser warning system. This is actually really useful in the game. I don't see it used too much by people, but at least for me, it's been something that saved my life many times. This plus the combo smoke grenades. If you, you know, an LWS tells you if you're getting laser range found, basically, so either by a helicopter or by another tank when they use their laser rangefinder on you, which this thing is actually missing. Does the Dardo not? Oh, no, sorry, it's there, isn't it? It's in it's in the modification. Sorry, dumb moment. But yeah, the laser rangefinder, it will tell you if somebody has range found you, so you can kind of see the general direction where people are coming from, and that helps a hell of a lot. And with the smoke, you know, you can just pop it and break line of sight if it's against like a helicopter and survive. So with the tow launchers, this thing has 2 on it, and it gets access to the tow 2s, TOW2As, and TOW2Bs. So the TOW2s are the standard ATGMs with 800mm of pen. The TOW2As are the tandem variant of the TOW, which means that they have the tandem charge, so it has two separate charges, so it can defeat ERA very comprehensively. And then it has the TOW2B, which is the top-down attack missile, which doesn't have as much pen, got heavily nerfed about a month ago in the last update, but still is very potent against light vehicles. And the main difference is the M928 shell here though, and the MK266. So you start off with a default belt of APDS and HEI, penning 8T7, AT33, so not too strong but decent. Then you have a HE setup if you want to go after lighter targets or airplanes and helicopters. And then you get this, which is going to be the shell that everybody uses, the APFS DS belt, the M928. This pens 101, 85, 58, respectively, and to compare it to the Dado, this pens 92, 78, 53. So this pens more across the board, is pretty much the way to put it. It doesn't pen a crazy amount more, which is why I find it odd that this thing's at 10.0 and the Dado's at 9.3. The only reason I can think that's the case is if the Dado is going to get moved up to 9.7, which may be possible because the thing is stupidly strong, and has been for a long time. Same with the M3A3 Bradley too. Does get access to scouting though, being, you know, a light tank in the game, does get access to artillery, gets access to all of the wonderful modifications that you'd want. This thing is going to be super fun to play. And also at 10.0, you do have a really good lineup for the Italians. You know, you got the Sedan Mistral, you got the Ariete P, a very undervalued tank. The Arietes, even though they're not as good as other MBTs around the place, they still are very strong, they still are very powerful, and they're also some of the most beautiful IFVs in my opinion when it comes to the game, which is very important when it comes to, you know, playing it. Looks is 50% of top tier. No, obviously I'm kidding. But yeah, the lineup it has with the Sedan Mistral and the Ariete P is really strong. You could probably up tier this to 10.7 to give you a nice little scout. Obviously the Centauro already gives you scouting, but this is more of like a tank destroyer, where this is more of a support vehicle. So you can definitely add it to that monster 10.7 lineup with the two Arietes, the automatic and the Centauro, giving you an incredibly good, you know, lineup. The only thing that it misses out on is, of course, not the greatest top tier cast, but I'm sure that'll change eventually, and also the helicopters you can throw in as well. So decent lineups for the VCC, should be pretty nice on it overall. And then, obviously the camos it has, pretty standard ones, nothing too crazy, just the standard Italian ones. I hope that the Italian camos do, you know, they add a few more to them. They are lacking. I don't know how many camos Italy used or use nowadays, since obviously this is quite a modern vehicle. I'm sure there's a decent amount of them though, that it can bring along. So hopefully we see some more stuff with it. So the VCC can't bring that many ATGMs, you know, it brings an okay amount of them, enough to be able to make a dent. Obviously the gun itself, you can see there's something, I'm pretty sure with this thing right now, the actual gun doesn't line up with the sounds of it, because if you listen to the sound, and then you look at the amounts of ammo that it's firing, they don't line up. So I don't know whether the gun is wrong when it comes to its rate of fire, because its rate of fire, at least right now, is pretty slow, or if it's the fact that the audio is wrong. But something's wrong on it. I don't know exactly what it is, but something's going on, which is a little bit weird. Now, the main advantage of the IFVs when it comes to the high tier ones is, for some reason the thermals aren't working on these things, but this thing does have thermals for the gunner and the commander. But the main advantage that these things have are the top down missiles, which are very strong. Also the fact that they have pretty much all the mechanics in the game that you'd want. You know, they have access to the LWS, they have access to the thermals, they have access to the 80 gems, you have pretty much everything. The only thing you don't have is a really powerful, strong gun, but the rounds themselves on the Bushmaster do enough damage to be able to make up for that. Normally, if you screw up a shot on something like this, you're going to die. It's because of the crazy fire rate it has, and also the 80 gems that it carries. And you can see, even after the nerf to stuff like the TOW2Bs, they still can top down stuff pretty effectively, as long as you know, put them in the correct position. I'm happy to see this thing. I think it's a really cool vehicle. You know, I've talked about many times how I personally really like IFVs in the game. They have really fun and interesting playstyles, very different to MBTs, and also at the same time, seeing minor nations get access to a pretty good vehicle, even if it is very similar to one we've already seen, is a fantastic thing as well. You can't fire the 80 gems on the move though, that kind of sucks, but it's not anything like that's big. You know, you can still gun on the move, and you can still scout on the move, so I'm not too worried about that too much. The smoke has good clearage on it. It also pops in 2 separate setups, which is nice. So hopefully this thing will find a place in the game. Hopefully people will enjoy it, because at least for me, I'm going to enjoy this thing a lot. And also what it does is it means the standard Dado is easier to spade, which, even if you're not interested in this, you will be interested in playing the Dado, because it's a fantastically fun vehicle. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank Professor X 1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, BRFC 15, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe A, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, and then Kyle Kin, Barine, Lafouche, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.